A very good afternoon to you and welcome to the Fixed Wing Guide channel with me, Stuart Lomas. Hope I find you well. Still Tuesday afternoon, still a dull, boring Tuesday here in Manchester. I want to do a little video which goes away really from the watch stuff, and I know I vary from it occasionally, but something that was brought to the fore by a conversation I had with one of my children. And the question is, do we ever consider what a world would be like without tech? Now, the reason that's interesting to me is that it's my belief that if tomorrow came and with a wipe of his mighty hand, God Almighty got rid of all tech, what would happen to the youngsters today? Now, the basis I'm working that on is, obviously I still work on the basis that there are sources of information and ways of doing things that don't involve electronic gadgets. And it doesn't matter what gadget that is, whether it's a laptop like I'm using here, or a tablet or a smartphone, or even an old, desktop PC. I know there are places that you can go to look in the Yellow Pages, or a telephone book, or a Thomson Local, or the library and places like that. Usually people now of a certain generation, people who were born post, 97, 98, when things started really kicking off, don't think in the terms of, if you took away their tech and said to them, right, oh, by the way, can you find out about this for me? I don't know whether they would know where to go with that at all. So, when I was a kid in the 60s, we used to have the height of technology, and I think I might have mentioned this before in one of my videos, I can't remember, something called a radiogram. Now, a radiogram, there are probably people watching this here in Britain, and possibly in America, who understand this term radiogram. It was a piece of furniture. That's what it was. It was a horizontal cabinet on 4 legs, which I guess would have been, I don't know, maybe 2 feet thick, possibly. It generally had 3 lids, a small one at one end, a big one in the middle, and a small one at the other end. And at one end was a stack system where you put your records, LPs, children, long playing records, 33 revs per minute, oh yeah. In the middle you had a what hi-fi buffs would call a tuner, a radio to you and I, and in the other end you had a record player, yes, with a needle and everything. And I used to think that was absolutely fantastic, top-notch tech. And if you were financially savvy, you could save up for one of these things, or buy one on the drip, or HP, hire purchase. You could do that as well, because it was the in thing to have in your house. So we had one of those. I remember my very, very first piece of tech, which was a small, I don't know, maybe 10 inches by a foot, possibly, a little case, a reel-to-reel tape recorder, which was brilliant. I loved it to pieces. And I thought, I remember thinking to myself, that's it, technology has peaked, that is as good as ever going to be. Little did I know, of course, that, transistors would take over, then obviously printed circuits and so on and so forth. But my interest comes when you talk to young kids. I mean, not when I say young kids, anybody, 15 to 25, let's say, what their understanding is of the world as it was back then. My kids are blown away that I remember a time where here in Britain we had one television channel. Just one. The BBC, the British Bucket Company, absolutely, which closed down at 10:30 at night and finished with the national anthem. So we had to stand up and salute the Queen before we went to bed. And then ITV or ATV, I think it was at the time, Associated Television, which was made by a company called Rediffusion here in Britain, came along, which then did, like, you know, commercial television. And they, as a matter of interest, the very first TV commercial here in Britain was for toothpaste. I think it was SR, but look it up. Very first one, toothpaste. And then in 1967 we got really posh with our third television channel, which was BBC Two. And BBC Two was the first channel to broadcast in living colour. Yes, indeed. But anyway, going off the point slightly here, my kids have grown up in a society where there has always been multi-channel television of some description or another. And they can't comprehend of what life was like in the 60s, and to a certain extent, even in the 70s here. And I know in America you've had a lot of cable channels, or the equivalent of, for a long time. I appreciate that. And television that went on broadcasting late into the night, because I remember kind of in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, you had something called the Late Late Show, I think. See, we never had that. We had stuff that closed down at silly o'clock. I mean, in these days, kids have their own dedicated television channels. Now, when I was a kid, BBC One used to do children's programmes, but they only started at 5:15 in the afternoon and finished at 5:45 or 6 o'clock when the main news came on, and that was only Monday to Friday. So much has changed, and my kids and other young people I talk to can't get their heads around how primitive we were. So I'd like, you know, to get your feelings or your reminiscences, if you like. Do a video, tell me, of what it was like when you were young. I don't know what it was like, you know, the other side of the Atlantic in 1960s, let's say, or 1970s if you're not quite as old as me. I would love to know, you know, what you talk about with your kids and how astonished your kids are about how basic we were and how we managed, you know. They're stunned that you know we couldn't get by without a mobile phone. It's my shitty replacement mobile phone, so I get my other one back, which is on its way back from China after being repaired. Anyway, they don't understand how we could get by without texting or Facebook or YouTube. You know, they've got no conception of that kind of thing. So tell me, but do you have conversations with your kids? Do you reminisce about when you were young and the kind of stuff? I was going to say the kind of stuff that we had, but it's kind of stuff we didn't have, isn't it? You know, black and white television. My kids can't understand that television was black and white. They don't get that. That doesn't really compute, because it's always been colour, you know. And now we've got the flat panel, multi-sound, looking like you look through a window HD televisions. Of course, you know, it's absolutely amazing the technology that the kids have today. Let's get back to the point of the video. Is would they cope without the technology? Because kids in school and colleges now can take in laptops and things. Now, and I know they can, if they're doing a maths exam, or math, as you say in America, they can take a calculator in. Well, when I was at school, the most high-tech stuff we were allowed to use, and we weren't allowed to use it all the time, the rest of it was making notes in the margin of your book to show that you'd done all the calculations, was this, your head, and, if you were clever, a slide rule. A slide rule! My kids wouldn't know what a slide rule is. You know, you have to be a scientist. Great piece of tool. It's a great kit. It's a slide rule. If you've never used one, get one. Have a read the instructions. There's nothing you can't work out. Absolutely brilliant. Really great piece of kit. So they taught us how to use a slide rule. But this is the interesting thing, is that the kids these days, should there be an electromagnetic pulse, for instance, from a nuclear explosion, let's say, and it wiped out the tech and kids had to survive, could they? What do you think? Let me know. I think it's quite an interesting concept, this, because we, of a certain age, I mean, obviously, if you're fortunate enough where your parents are still alive, they have spent most of their life without tech. I've always been of the mind that I kind of always saw that tech was going to be important, so I tried to learn about tech as I went along, hence why I'm doing this, and I embrace this, and I embrace smartphones. I do have friends who hate smartphones. My best friend hates computers with a passion. He thinks the internet is the work of Satan. He still thinks that we all use telephone books and yellow pages. That's how much he hates. He won't have a website for his business, you know, he just won't, because he thinks this is the devil's work. So let me know what you think. See, I would love to hear about the conversations you have with your kids, or the conversations you've overheard. I know that Johnny Casual's a teacher. Let me know, Johnny, what you think. Jeffrey McMahon, are you a teacher? I get the feeling you're a teacher. Let me know. Let me know what you've heard, what the conversations you've heard, and what, in your opinion, being in touch with young people every day, whether if you divested them of all tech, whether they could survive. I wager not, you know, and I might be doing young people a disservice, but I don't think I am. Because when, on the rare occasion, my kids come and see me, they are constantly texting, updating their Facebook, tweeting, or whatever. You know, so their whole existence is kind of intertwined with tech. Whereas my main intertwining of tech is talking to you guys on here. This is, you know, this little world here. I must admit, I do all my Christmas shopping online. I love tech. I embrace it. It's great. But if it went pop and it didn't work anymore, and every bit of tech in the world disappeared, it just evaporated. Myself, people of my generation, and my parents' generation, I mean, you know, will revert to their older style of life, because we can do it. It's what we can do. But anybody who was born late 80s, mid 90s, they've never not known a time where you could have all this electronic wizardry and say, now then, you know, I need to know a little bit about this. I know what I'll do. I'll Google it. You see, there's the thing, you know, Googling it. Google has become the verb to do, to search. That, you know, they would never dream of getting a book off the shelf and having a look through an encyclopedia and that kind of thing. So anyway, I'll wrap this up now because I'm rambling. I'm doing a Johnny. That's what I'm doing. Let me know what you think. Please make a video. Please let me. I would love to hear what your kids say to you. If you're a teacher, what the kids you teach, what you think their life would be like if the mobile phones disappeared, if the tablets disappeared, if the laptops disappeared. Let me know. Anyway, that's it. Please make a video if you can. I would love to watch it and love to hear perhaps the frustration in your voice from the kids that you know. And if you don't want to make a video, drop me a note down below, as always. Thanks a lot for watching this. Thank you very, very much indeed to my ongoing dribble of subscribers. It's lovely to see. I have a new one more or less every couple of days, which is absolutely fantastic. I try and say hello to all of you. It's a real pleasure to make these. So for now, that's it for this one. I will speak to you again either later on today or tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.